It is time to predict the 2025 Tony Awards, maybe the most competitive Tony since I would say 2017. So how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna do it two ways. One, I'm gonna say who I would vote for, who I would personally want to see win, and then in the second half of the video, it's gonna be who do I think is actually going to win based on, prediction videos and articles and podcasts. The New York Times survey of Tony voters comes out on Friday, but I feel like it wouldn't be as exciting because that is very accurate to what happens. So this is kind of what I want to do. But anyways, we're going to start off with Best Musical. So here's the issue with Best Musical. For me, I want maybe Happy Ending and Dead Out Law to both win. I think both shows are so different, but touched me emotionally, intellectually. The Dead Out Law pushes and plays with and expands the form of musical theater. Maybe Happy Ending is a breathtaking masterpiece of a musical that feels like a Pixar movie put to life. And I truly could not choose which one. I think that both are original pieces. I know Dead Out Law is based off of a true story, but it is an original musical, as is maybe Happy Ending. I have switched between one day feeling maybe Happy Ending, one day feeling Dead Out Law. If I had to vote, I'm gonna go to Dead Out Law, I think. But again, it would most likely be by this much, and that's only because it is struggling at the box office, and I think it needs to be seen more, and maybe Happy Ending is not the underdog musical anymore. I think it can survive without a Best Musical win. Although, the argument is that it would go to outsiders level numbers with a Best Musical win. And that's something that the Best Musical brand desperately needs. So again, it'd be a tie. If I had it perfect, it would be a tie. But yeah, that's maybe Happy Ending and Dead Out Law. I don't think there's going to be any upsets. I think it is between those two. For Best Actor in a Musical, I'm gonna go with who I think I want to win, and that's Jeremy Jordan for Floyd Collins. He's been working constantly for, a long time. He hasn't been nominated in a long time. I want Floyd Collins to get some big award because it is such a great show, and Jeremy and Taylor are two pivotal parts of the show, and I did see both Floyd Collins and Gypsy. I didn't do reviews for those. I'm doing one for Floyd Collins, but not for Gypsy, just because I don't have a lot to say on Gypsy. Jeremy elevates the material, and I feel like he obviously doesn't give a Ben Platt-esque breakdown, but I feel like it's not a subtle performance, it's kind of in the middle, but I feel like his performance stuck with me the most out of all of the people that were nominated. But I do think that's my personal pick, is Jeremy Jordan for Floyd Collins. I mean, my main criteria is what stuck with me, what I remembered the best, and I guess what I felt like had the best impact, who embodied the character the best. And, Floyd Collins is not he's turning into the Joker. It's not a completely, you can't recognize Jeremy. But I just felt like he was so convincing and strong, and he was joyous, but also very unhopeful. And I just felt like his weariness, his charisma really elevated the show, because it's a very dense production. I could see Floyd Collins, with not so great of a lead actor, not hitting the way it did. For featured actor, Taylor Trench for Floyd Collins. Again, I think that Taylor and Jeremy, when they were both on stage, the production gets elevated. They're magnetic together. They make you lean in, and they're investing. And Taylor has done many musicals. He deserves it, And I think that he doesn't sing at all, but he definitely brings the humanity to the part. And these are not super character-y parts, but they're very nuanced human parts that they make very interesting. Best Direction. This is the one that I am super conflicted over. It's Jamie Lloyd in one corner, Michael Arden in the other. I think that it is gonna be it's a split down the middle. I'm really this is kind of like Best Musical. I don't know. I want it to be a tie, because Michael Arden, if you've seen the featurettes, you've seen the behind the scenes, how much his direction and the book and the script and how it kind of collided with the direction, how masterful Michael Arden is able to put that on, and even the little subtle things, like he said, I came up with this thing where Claire and Oliver would check their batteries on their arms, and like little subtle details that you're like, whoa, like watch those featurettes. So yeah, I think Michael Arden has a very strong case, and I'm kind of leaning more towards Michael Arden than Jamie Lloyd. I thought Jamie Lloyd, you know, he reinvented Sunset in such an artistic way. It is exactly what you want a revival to be. It is clearly a distinctive vision of Sunset. So at the end of the day, I want it to be a tie, but if I had to pick who I'm leaning towards, it's Michael Arden for Maybe Happy Ending, but I wouldn't be upset if Jamie Lloyd won, and there's a part of me that wants Jamie Lloyd to win. But again, the divisiveness of that revival could harm Jamie Lloyd. For Best Book and Score, I think this is going to be kind of like the 2005 Tonys. You had Light in the Piazza, Spelling Bee, Spamalot, you had 3 big shows, and book, score, and musical all went to different musicals, and I think that's going to happen this year. I want Dead Outlaw to win Best Musical, so if that happens, I think that book will go to Death Becomes Her, and score to Maybe Happy Ending. I am actually going to put Death Becomes Her as my pick for Best Book, because when you actually compare how much they changed from the movie, how much depth and nuance and the whole added dimension of women aging into it, and the clever jokes, and it honestly is similar in its structure, but it's not a copy and paste job at all. It is very different from the movie, and I feel like that is super admirable, and going back to it and thinking about it, it's such a clever script, and Death Becomes Her in a different season, in a weaker season, win Best Musical, but I feel like with how competitive this season is, I just don't see that happening, and I think there's a lot of industry support for Death Becomes Her, and I think that it is one of the few musical modern comedies that works, and that's why I think Death Becomes Her should win Best Book. But Dead Outlaw is a great number 2, as is Maybe Happy Ending. I actually wasn't, like, wowed by Maybe Happy Ending's book, but I've seen it 3 times, and the last time I was like, the humor is really subtle, the characterizations, the nuance, the structure of it, the pacing is pretty solid, and with Dead Outlaw, again, it plays with the form, its vignettes, and everything, and the way that they construct it, I think is very interesting, and in terms of they kind of, you know, take your expectations of what you think a story is, like, beat to beat to beat, it's consistent, and you follow a character, whereas in Dead Outlaw, you follow a character for 20 minutes, and then it's different characters for each segment. But again, I think that Death Becomes Her, for me, is my personal pick for Best Book. Best Score for me is Maybe Happy Ending. Even if Maybe Happy Ending wins musical, I still think Maybe Happy Ending should win score. Although Dead Outlaw makes a compelling case. Dead Outlaw, it's the most versatile score. There's so, like, you go from Millicent's song to the I Killed a Man in Maine song, so different, and I love that in a musical, and it's lyrically like poetry, it's so beautiful. But Maybe Happy Ending has gorgeous orchestrations and some just heart-wrenching lyrics, and honestly, the music is what stayed with me. It's impacted me the most, and I haven't heard this kind of music that talks about love and our culture of love in that way. And so I would give it to Maybe Happy Ending purely on the facet that they take what could easily be a very cliched score about love and romance and make it so interesting, so intellectual, so sad and realistic, but hopeful at the same time. For scenic design, Maybe Happy Ending, the featurette tells you everything you need to know. It is gorgeous the way that they do all of the different songs that normally would be people just sitting on a stage singing out, like as in Where You Belong, and they kind of turn this into the like spinny wheel house thing, and the fireflies and the projections. I mean, the design is beautiful, and it fits the story, it fits the themes, and it's gorgeous to look at. And I think it has no competition. Costume design, Death Becomes Her, those costumes are beautiful. I think Boop could upset it, but I feel like Boop has some really beautiful costumes, but I feel like some of the other costumes can be very gaudy and kind of not very impressive to me. Lighting design, I think that on set, its use of lighting is very key, because there's no set, there's no props. The way they use the blackout when Norma kills Gil and is breathtaking, and one of the best moments in theater I've ever seen. But I feel like a good second runner-up would be Floyd Collins, especially in Act 2, what they do with that huge color wheel, which again is projections, but it's a mix of both, and I feel like, you know, I would be happy with either one. Sound design, I wish that Dead Outlaw got in here because I felt like that was the best sound design of a musical. But if we were to go off of the list, I feel like Sunset would be my pick purely because of the Act 2 opener and how they're able to accomplish that is truly worthy of a Tony, and they won that at the Oliver Awards. But there could be an upset in some of the jukebox categories, which tend to win sound and orchestrations. Speaking of orchestrations, I think Maybe Happy Ending is my personal pick. If you listen to it, especially in that not Act 2, but in Chasing Fireflies and the instrumentals, it is sweeping, it is gorgeous, it is, Will Arneson has constructed a beautiful orchestrational centerpiece for the whole thing, and it's gorgeous. And for choreography, I would go with, I think everyone's saying Vista Social Club, which I didn't see, but I would go with Boop, because I did see Boop, and I thought Jerry Mitchell's choreography, especially in Where Is Betty, was super amazing, and Jerry came up with that number, so I feel like I would want to give him something. And then we get to Best Revival, which I think will go to Sunset. It's what you would expect a revival to do. I don't think I need to explain that for people that know what Sunset and Gypsy and those revivals are. But yeah, revival, it's what gets reinvented, you know, and while it is a very divisive production, Oklahoma in 2019 was the same way and it won. So I don't think Sunset has anything to be concerned about. The Gypsy revival was seen as a bit of like a okay, you know, I thought Gypsy was fantastic. That was the first time I saw it on stage. I thought it was a great production, but compared to other productions, it was pretty similar. And for me, what qualifies something to win Best Revival is a completely new interpretation or just a fresh take on it. And I feel like Sunset lived up to that mantra. Leading actress in a musical. I would pick Nicole for this. I think Nicole and Audra and Jasmine were all amazing, but Nicole stuck with me the most, what she does with her her whole body, her whole vocals, her face. I mean, it truly is like a marathon, you know? It's a true, like, tour de force performance where every aspect of her being is being put out in that performance, and she leans into that campy side of Norma Desmond, and it truly just, you know, every aspect of her is used in that performance, from the vocals to the body to the move to the mindset, the facial expressions. It's all there, and it creates the character that you sympathize with and you are sad for, but that you're also horrified for. And this would be also a good way to get Jamie Lloyd some recognition, because he was a pivotal part in creating that character. So for who I think is going to win Best Musical, it seems like maybe Happy Ending is going to take it. I would love for Dead Outlaw to win, but it doesn't seem to have the support surrounding it. And again, maybe Happy Ending, just box office, momentum-wise, it's poised to be that Best Musical thing. And I'll be happy when it wins, because it deserves to win, and I think it will revitalize the Best Musical brand. I think if there is an upset, I think it actually will be Death Becomes Her, you know, but I think maybe Happy Ending has that momentum, and it kind of reminds me of Great Comet versus Dear Evan Hansen, in that, you know, Great Comet and Dead Outlaw are more intellectual pieces, and Dear Evan Hansen and maybe Happy Ending are emotional and intellectual pieces, but I think, you know, with all Tony, Oscar, you know, nominators, they tend to go for the more emotional story. For a leading actor, people are seeming to think it's Darren versus Jonathan. I couldn't agree more with that. I actually saw Darren Criss again in Maybe Happy Ending for the third time, and I really caught on to his physicality and the subtle things he does with his feet and with his movement, and his performance grew on me every time I saw it. And the first time I was like, he's good, but I don't know if he's the best fit, and now I'm like, I can't see anyone else playing Oliver but Darren Criss. You know, what he's able to do with the subtleness of his comedy, and it not turning into cringe, and it would also be a good way, if Michael Oden doesn't win director, to give that acting choice some respect, because you end up in tears and emotionally drained from Maybe Happy Ending, and you end up, you know, and the actors do not cry at all, they do not show emotion at all, and that, to me, is something that's so impressive to have that kind of restraint. But Jonathan Groff, he's a favorite. He's, you know, I haven't seen Just in Time, but looking at the clips and the performances, I can get why he would win and deserve to win. But I feel like he won last year. He's not really playing Bobby Darin, but Jonathan Groff, and I think that's going to work against him. But he could win. Lead actress, I think it's going to go to Jasmine. I'm going to pull that button. I think that it's going to go to the new ingenue. You know, Audra's won 6 times, and I think that's going to work against her. And people love Audra and the production, but they don't love the production. And Audra, I don't think, you know, people love Audra's performance, but I don't think that it is in a production that's going to give it enough support. Nicole was in a very divisive revival, and she won the Oliver. Jasmine is new to the scene, she's young, and I think that if Audra and Nicole are a tie, which I think could happen, I think voters could defer to Jasmine Amy Rogers, and there has to be an upset. With how big this season is, there has to be an upset, and I think it's going to Jasmine, and I'm actually super confident in that, because I think that Audra and Nicole, are going to lead voters to a tie or a deadlock, and they're going to go for Jasmine. But if Jasmine doesn't win, I'm going to go with Audra. A lot of people are seeming to see that's the direction it's going in if Jasmine doesn't win. But again, I hope that Nicole wins. Featured actor Jack Malone won all of the awards, and he's expected to win. I haven't seen him, but that's what people appear to be going for. And that's, I guess, all I can say on that. For featured actress, it looks like Natalie Balcone for Visa Social Club, and I had a feeling she was going to get nominated. Again, I have not seen it, but just the buzz, the momentum, I think that this is hers to win. For direction, Michael Arden is expected to win, and I feel like that's the safer choice, and I know that Daniel Fish lost to Rachel Chafkin, and so it's a very similar kind of situation, and I think it'll play out the same. Book and score, I truly do believe that I don't see Dead Outlaw not winning a major award. So I feel like book will go to Dead Outlaw, and score is going to go to maybe Happy Ending. However, people are saying that maybe Happy Ending could win book, score, and musical, but again, I think that this could be a big upset where, again, Death Becomes Her wins best book, score goes to Dead Outlaw, musical goes to maybe Happy Ending. I think that this is a much more competitive category. I truly don't think there's going to be a sweep, and if there is, it's maybe Happy Ending. Scenic design and costume design, maybe Happy Ending, and and Death Becomes Her seem to be pretty much the front runners, and I don't think anyone would disagree with that. For lighting design of a musical, it looks like Sunset is poised to win, with sound design going to Sunset as well, although some people are saying that Vista Social Club and Just in Time could pick up sound and orchestrations, which Vista Social Club is predicted to win because jukebox musicals tend to do great in that category. And then for choreography, people are saying it's Visa Social Club because Justin Peck did incredible work on that show, and he's won both times he got nominated, but I think Jerry Mitchell is getting a competitive edge, and Boop won all of the awards at the drama desks, and again, big myth is that the, prior award ceremonies are an indicator of what's going to win, and they're not, but typically when something wins, many of the awards, it tends to work. It tends to get them the win. So anyways, those are my long-winded thoughts on the Tony Award predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like, sub, and comment. I will give you my full reaction to the Tonys on Monday, so stick around for that. Peace.